Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening. Welcome back to another episode of the Louis Sports Network. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday evening as it is raining here in NYC and now it has converted to snow. But that ain't stopping your boy from coming with the grind, man. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure those post notifications are turned on. Make sure you guys are sharing to your social media platforms. Truly appreciate it. Guys, I'm truly humbled. I love and respect each and every one of y'all that are always taking the time of watching my videos, subscribing to the channel, liking the video, commenting in the comment section, and constantly sharing on social media platforms. Like I always say, guys, without you, there is no me. So much love and appreciation and blessings to everybody. Hope everybody is safe on this Saturday night, man, as we get into this topic right now. I was watching the documentary on the Atlanta Braves, and this documentary came out like about, I want to say about 9 to 10 years ago, and it featured three pitchers, three of the greatest pitchers of all time, and they're all in the Hall of Fame. And we're talking about John Smoltz, we're talking about Tom Glavine, and we're talking about Greg Maddux, managed by Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox, one of the greatest managers in baseball history. And they were talking about the 14 straight division titles, and what they were mentioning was about how the Atlanta Braves were in the 80s. They mentioned about Ted Turner purchasing the team in the mid-70s, around 75, 76. And we know how much of a mainstream mogul Ted Turner is. And we know Ted Turner when it comes to the history of WCW, and everybody knows about the NWO. So it just tells you how much of an impact Ted Turner's had, you know, as an owner, and just being part of television. But getting back to the Atlanta Braves, man, like they had one NLCS appearance in '82 when Joe Torre was manager, but after that they had some really, really, really bad years. And you know how they were in the '80s, right before the time that Bobby Cox, who I think was part of the front office, I know he used to manage the Blue Jays prior to that, and then I know John Schuerholz became president of baseball operations with the Braves. And we talk about the beginning of the run of 14 straight division titles, which would have been 15 had it not been for the strike sort in '94 season. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is that I think what hurt the Braves more than anything was not winning a second World Series title. Not really more so 1999. It's really more so 1996. And I already made a video about 2 or 3 years ago, talking about the 96 World Series between the Braves and the Yankees, in which the Yankees came back from 2-0 as underdogs and came back and won 4 straight on the Braves when the Braves were clearly the better team. And you couldn't have scripted a much better Hollywood movie, because that was a Hollywood movie when you look back at that 96 World Series. You talk about drama, you talk about theatrics. That series was it. If you guys go back and watch the games, especially games 4 and 5, games 4, 5, and 6, the last 3 games of the series, that was real theatrical drama, real theater. Anyway, Atlanta had a great success. They went to the World Series 5 times in the 90s, 91, 92, 95, 96, and 99. They went to the World Series back-to-back times twice. But they only have 1 World Series to show for it. Now, 14 straight division titles is nothing to sneeze at, because when you consider how they were in the 80s, they had a tremendous amount of success winning the division and constantly being in the postseason. And I think Greg Maddux made a great point when I watched the documentary. He said it wasn't always a matter of when we won the division title, because we knew we were going to win the division title, but it was always how are we going to fare in the postseason. And we know John Smoltz is one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time. The track record speaks for itself. And I have a lot of respect for the players that have played over the years for Atlanta. You're talking about guys like Chipper Jones and David Justice and Greg Olson and Sid Bream and Mark Lemke, Terry Pendleton, Ron Gant, Lonnie Smith, Fred McGriff, Jeff Blauser, Marquise Grissom, Jermaine Dye, Ryan Klesko. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. Like that Braves team was such a good team. But it's unfortunate that we can't call them. They are one of the greatest teams ever. I just think what hurts the Braves was that they didn't win enough World Series. I think and that's why I said I always look at '96 because I said they could have went back to back because they had just won the World Series in '95, and I always felt that was, to me, that the way that series ended just left a bad taste in the mouths of Atlanta. It doesn't take away what they accomplished because what they did was incredible. What they did was Andrew Jones. That's another guy I need to mention as well. But can't take away what Atlanta accomplished. But I always felt that '96 series, to me, it deflated them because even though they went back to the World Series a couple of years later, you saw what kind of happened like after that because they were the premier team. I felt that '93, they had, to me, a little bit of bad luck in terms of they were in the National League West at the time. So they were playing a lot of tough games. And I know that they were battling the Giants, who were trying to get the division for the right to play in October for the National League Championship Series. And also remember that it wasn't until '94 that they expanded to 6 divisions. And in '95, they went to divisional play, adding a wild card. So they added a division series to that. But if you look at what happened after '95, '96, the Braves were the best team in baseball in '95, '96. But just losing to the Yankees, it was them become, okay, they were arguably the best team in the National League. But then even then, so the Yankees, they just leapfrogged over them as the team of the '90s because the Yankees won 3 World Series in a 4-year span. The Braves went to the World Series 5 times and won all those division titles, but they only won 1 World Series. The Yankees were mediocre all up until '93, '94 was when they started. They started to turn it around in '93. '94, they had the best record in the American League. I believe it was in all of baseball. Them and the Expos, but the strike-shortened season took away a potential World Series matchup between those two teams. The Yankees won the first ever wild card. Then in '96, they had a Cinderella season. They had a Cinderella season winning the World Series. That '96 team was a Cinderella team. And then what does it do? And then the Yankees were a better team in '97, but then they lost to the Indians, who were less talented than they were. That's just a fact. They had some good players like Manny and obviously Jim Thome, but they weren't as talented as they were in '95. That, to me, from top to bottom, that was their most talented team. But then you look at the Braves. I mean, they lost the Yankees in historic, dramatic fashion. Then they come back and they lose in the championship series to the Marlins. The Marlins end up winning the World Series. In '98, they lost to the Padres, who, quite honestly, the Padres were looked at as underdogs just because they didn't win as many games as Atlanta. But I'm like, 98 games isn't nothing to sneeze at. And consider the fact that I think the Padres, I believe, struggled down the stretch because they easily looked like they could have won themselves anywhere from 104 to 106 games themselves. That Padres team was that good. And they had a 50 home run hitter in Greg Vaughn that year. And then '99, they beat the Mets in that classic 6-game NLCS where Robin Ventura hit that damn grand slam single. It was supposed to be a grand slam home run, but Robin Ventura's teammates just mobbed him to where he couldn't even cross after he crossed first base. But that should have been a 7-3 win. And then they faced the Yankees, and then the Yankees just sweep them. And I believe the Braves had the lead in the first 2 games. But I felt that to me, that '96 series really hurt the Braves, in my opinion. Because even though they were still able to consistently be good, You know, they make one more World Series and then they don't make another World Series after that until 2021. So it had been 22 years since, you know, they went to the World Series, and then it had been 26 years since they had won it, because then the Braves won the World Series in 2021. But like I said before, those Brave teams were so good. They should have won at least 4 to 5 World Series, in my personal opinion, with the amount of success they had in the regular season. And they had some dramatic series during the league championship series. You look at the series in '91 against the Pirates. You look at back-to-back Game 7s against the Pirates, which were both classics. I mean, they lost a dramatic 7-game series to the Twins. We know how that series, and that was one of the most exciting World Series in Major League history. Game 7, the pitching matchup between Jack Morris and John Smoltz is still to this day one of the greatest games in Major League history. And that was Game 7 of the World Series in the Metrodome, in which the Twins won in extra innings 1-0, mind you, to win their championship. And a young 24-year-old John Smoltz went toe-to-toe with Jack Morris, who Jack Morris was his hero. That was his idol, because Jack Morris had pitched for the Tigers. He was on the '84 championship Tigers team. But like I said, I want to pay my respects to the Braves. It's unfortunate that they didn't get the moniker that the late '90s to early 2000 Yankees got, because the Yankees ended up being the far more successful team in the late '90s compared to the Braves, even though they were winning division titles throughout the whole decade. It's just that they, unfortunately, only won one World Championship. But there were some great Braves teams, man. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Louis with another one, a little bit of a long video, but let me know what you guys think of the Atlanta Braves being successful with their 14 division titles and being remembered for that, but just not being remembered of winning enough World Series. Let me know what you guys think. Bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for watching.